just about 6 months ago, I turned 30. January is my birthday, I turned 30, and I heard rumors about your 30s. I heard about what could happen to your body for some reason, unbeknownst to people in your 30s. But I will tell you this, I have been in more pain in the last 6 months than I have all of my 20s combined. It makes no sense to me. And in my pain, this is what I've learned. These are real things I've gone to the doctor for. The first is this, I have arthritis in my lower back. 6 months in, I already have arthritis. That's insane. You guys, I'm in physical therapy right now for my rotator cuff. My shoulders don't move the way they should anymore. I spend so much time crawling on the ground with our son, Aiden, that every time I get up, my knees hurt. My knees are just in constant pain from the up and down motion. But this is the kicker. This is the one that gets me. This is like the running joke with me and McCain's all the time. My hand hurts every time I try to cut a block of cheese. It just happened one day where my hand I can't grip the knife. It hurts. Nobody can figure out what's going on. But because I've been in all this pain physically on the outside, it dawned on me. I was like, I felt great in my 20s all the time, so I never went to the doctor, didn't have a primary care. So I was like, I have no idea what's going on internally with my body. And I can only imagine that if the outside hurts this much, the inside cannot be doing too great already. And the only two things that I know about the healthcare system, because again, I never went in my 20s, is that it's slow and that it's the worst. Like nobody has a good experience with healthcare. That's all I've been told. And so I'm like preparing for this. So I go, I get a primary care, I get a doctor, I tell them all the things that are going on. I say, hey, can I get some lab work done? And that day, they're like, great, you're gonna go down to the hall, take a left, we're gonna draw some blood. Within minutes, they were drawing blood. And I was like, this is wild. This is not at all what I thought the healthcare system was like. And then I left thinking, okay, I got a couple of days, maybe some weeks until I get my results back. That's kind of what happens. Within 2 hours, they had sent me the results of my lab work. Luckily, it was all green, and I was like, thank God, because I can't handle anything else going wrong. But I was just shocked. I had anticipated this super long wait because I'd heard that the healthcare system is just way too slow, and it didn't. And that's when it dawned on me that Western society, for some reason, has decided that the greatest problem facing humanity is our time being wasted while we wait for things. Everything, every technological advancement, everything that's happening right now is doing so to alleviate any time that we could be wasting in our life waiting on something. Like if we think about it, like grocery stores, retail stores, they're saying to us, hey, don't waste your time just walking around the store or waiting in line to buy stuff. Buy it on the app, and we'll just throw it in your car as you leave. Like just drive by, pick up, and go. Amazon came around and said, look, you guys are waiting days, weeks for your packages. We're gonna get them to you in 2 days. Now, often Amazon's like overnight. I'll get it to you by 4 a.m. And I'm like, nothing I need in my life needs to be here at 4 a.m. Yes, please give that to me at 4 a.m. Like if we look at just like Netflix, they're like, hey, you're waiting in line at Blockbusters, you're buying movies, don't do that. We're just gonna send you your movie the day that you want it. And then they're like, you know what? We're just gonna make everything on demand. Don't wait for anything. And so we live in this world where everything that we used to wait for has been slowly removed. And now we live in this time where we have zero tolerance for waiting whatsoever. Like imagine like when you are like driving somewhere and there's a little bit of traffic that you didn't anticipate, it is the most frustrating feeling in the world. I'm like, I gotta wait longer now. I'm gonna be late. Like I planned on not having to do this. Like when you're trying to open something on your phone and the Wi-Fi doesn't connect fast enough, is infuriating beyond reason because I'm just used to everything being immediate. And so when we find ourselves grounded, having to wait on God, my guess is our first reaction is not thinking, wow, what a great moment for spiritual formation. I think most of us are irritated and being like, God, I made the call. Why have you not shown up? What is happening? But what if those moments of being grounded and having to wait on God was in fact one of the most powerful moments of our spiritual formation? And so today I want to look at a passage that talks just about that. And I would say this passage is about as iconic, just a little bit less iconic than the resurrection of Jesus. and I put it on the scale of the resurrection of Jesus because it's the resurrection that happens right before Jesus's. It's the story of Lazarus. And so if you have a Bible, I would love for you to turn with me to John chapter 11. I'm going to be starting in verse 1. It says this: Now a man was sick, Lazarus from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. And Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. And it was her brother Lazarus who was sick. And so the sisters sent a message to him, Lord, the one that you love is sick. And when Jesus heard it, he said, the sickness will not end in death, but it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha, her sister, and Lazarus. And so when that he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. What are you waiting on God for? What are you waiting on God to show up and do? This passage starts off with John making it very clear. The people that involved is a family with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And what he wants to be known above anything else is that this family is deeply connected with Jesus. Jesus loves them. John's going to say it multiple times that he loves this family. We know this so well that when Mary and Martha find out that Lazarus is sick and they are sending word to Jesus, they're not trying to justify the relationship to Jesus. They're not like, hey, Jesus, you know Lazarus, the guy that you did this and that with, and we've done this and this with you, and we've shared all these meals. They're not trying to prove who they are. All they have to say is, hey, Jesus, the one that you love is sick. And that's enough for Jesus to know, oh, it's Lazarus in Bethany. And so Jesus is deeply connected with this family, and it says so. He says that Jesus loved Martha and Mary and Lazarus. And so we would assume that the rest of that passage would then go on to say, so therefore, Jesus rushed over to them to bring healing. So Jesus dropped everything else that he was doing. He left the disciples behind. He made it his purpose to go to the family that he loves so he could bring healing to his friend Lazarus. Instead, it says the opposite. It says that Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And so he stayed where he was 2 more days. It doesn't say, but he stayed where he was 2 more days. It's not like there was this external circumstance in Jesus' life that was stopping him from getting to this family as quickly as he could. It says, hey, I love them so much, therefore I am going to wait 2 more days. And by doing so, Jesus creates this intentional moment of waiting for this family. He grounds them. He forces them to wait on him longer than they had anticipated to. And again, I'm wondering, as you're here, what are you waiting on God for? Like, I think some people are in this room, and you guys are waiting on God to fix your marriage. Like, you're waiting on him to show up. Some of you have been calling out to God to help with your finances because you are just struggling to keep everything on the table and moving along. Some of you even now are still hurting with a deep sense of loneliness, and you're just like looking, God, would you bring community? Would you bring people into my life? Some of you are just waiting to be reconnected with your son or your daughter. Some of you are praying for the salvation of people in your family for years, and it has not come yet. And before we go to this idea that because we are in the season of waiting and because it has gone longer than I have anticipated, therefore Jesus must have forgotten, Jesus has been held up with something else, Jesus has just ignored me or moved on, what if instead we ask ourselves, what if the God who loves me, the God who just knows me as the one whom he loves, has intentionally created a moment of waiting in my life so that he can do something that I just cannot see yet. So that he can move in ways that I just cannot comprehend yet. And that's where Mary and Martha find themselves, calling out for Jesus and having to wait longer than they had anticipated. The passage, however, moves on. I'm going to pick up in verse 17. Eventually, Jesus arrives, and it says this, and when Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. And Bethany was near Jerusalem, less than 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and to Mary to comfort them about their brother. And as soon as Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary remained seated in the house. And then Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Yet even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. Your brother will rise again, Jesus told her. And Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me, even if he dies, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she told him, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into this world. Have you moved on from waiting on God? Jesus finally arrives, and as he does, Mary and Martha have two very different responses. One hears that Jesus is here and goes running off to meet him on the road. The other one stays where they are seated in the house. One is not better than the other. They're just different. But Martha's interaction kind of tells us something about where she is emotionally, like in this whole season. She runs up to Jesus and she shows her faith, saying, God, if you had been here, I know that you could have healed my brother. Like it's not a judgment. She's not upset with Jesus. She's just declaring, I know you could have done this. And even now, whatever you ask, Jesus, I know that God will give it to you. And so Jesus tells her exactly what he's going to do. Your brother is going to rise again. And Martha's like, yeah, I know that. On the last day, sometime, like with everybody else, like that's when he's going to rise again. And we start to notice that in this season of grieving, the Martha she's already moved on in her process. She's like, my brother was sick. I called for your help. You did not make it in time. He has died. I have buried him. And now someday, Jesus, you are going to do something. And Jesus has this moment where he has to remind her. He says, no, I am the resurrection and the life. He's saying, I am working now here in the present. I am here now to do something that you just cannot fathom yet. He's telling her what's going on. And I think a lot of us in our seasons of calling on to God and to waiting for him, that we might have just moved on too quickly. That we might have said, Jesus, I'm asking you to do this, and you didn't show up. It's already done, so I'm just going to move on. And so the next time that we need God to move in our lives, the next time that we are waiting on him, our expectations become, someday. Like someday Jesus can do this. At the end times, everything's going to be made right. At the end times, like that's when all this goodness is going to happen. But Jesus isn't going to be able to do or move in my life right now as I need him to. And this isn't bad theology. Martha's actually right on. She's nailing it. This is like Orthodox Jewish beliefs on what was going to happen. But in doing so, she's been blinded to what Jesus truly wants to reveal in her life right now. And as you're here and you're thinking about what am I waiting on God for, like have you just already accepted it? Like have you just already accepted, like Jesus can't fix my marriage. It's already been dead. Jesus can't, you already missed the opportunity to bring people into my life. Like I think loneliness is just going to be with me wherever I go. God, if you were going to save that person in my family that I've been praying for you for years, you would have done it by now. You're just not interested in doing it. And that's okay. Someday, maybe something will happen. And so Jesus is here asking us, are we going to accept what has happened? Or do we believe that God, in his perfect timing, has shown up exactly when we need him to? And that's exactly what happens with Mary and Martha. The passage goes on. I'm picking up in 38. It says this. And then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. When it was a cave and a stone was laying against it. Remove the stone, Jesus said. And Martha, the dead man's sister, told him, Lord, there is already a stench because he has been dead for 4 days. And Jesus said to her, didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? And so they removed the stone. And then Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you heard me. I know that you always hear me, but because of the crowd standing here, I said this so that they may believe that you sent me. And after this, he shouted with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the dead man came out, bound hand and foot with linen straps, and his face was wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, unwrap him and let him go. Do you need to reopen your tomb? As Jesus finally makes it to the tomb, people there are probably assuming that he's coming to mourn, as you would do with a friend. And then Jesus does something wild. He says, remove the stone. And I love Martha in the story because she's just so reasonable. She's like, Jesus, we can already smell it through the stone. Like, we already know that he is there and he's dead. His body is rotting. Like, we're not going to reopen the tomb. But Jesus tells her, like, look, I told you that you're going to see the glory of God. Even though Martha is already in this place where she's moved on, that she has buried her brother, she has sealed it with a tomb, she is going forward and saying the next time Jesus in the resurrection at the last day, that's when all this is going to be made new. It's in that moment of moving on and that moment of defeat where Jesus wants to display one of the most incredible displays of power that he has. And what is interesting about Martha is that her response in all of this makes so much sense. Martha has never seen Jesus raise anybody from the dead. Martha doesn't have a book full of stories of what Jesus has done and knows the end of them. Martha hasn't seen Jesus raise himself from the dead and come back and ascend to the right hand of the Father. She has no framework for that. She has no understanding for that. So, of course, she has no reason to believe that by removing the stone, Jesus is going to raise her brother right then and there. And even in that, Martha has the faith to reopen her tomb anyway. Like, she's about to risk experiencing the heartache of her brother dying again, of seeing his body. She's going to have to experience the smell. Like, she knows that all of this could be really crushing and hurting to her as she has been processing through her brother's death. And yet, she has the faith to reopen her tomb. And so I'm just curious for you here, like, do you need to reopen your tomb? Like, you might be coming in saying, man, I've waited on God to do this, and he did not do it, and I have buried it, and I have moved on, and I'm just trying to go on to the next thing. I'm not trying to think about it anymore. I'm not trying to acknowledge it anymore. I just don't want this to be a part of my life. It's dead. We're done. And there might be a day where the Holy Spirit comes knocking and asks you to reopen that tomb. And it might be Jesus. I'm afraid. Like, I don't want to risk being hurt doing all of this again. I don't want to risk the pain of experiencing loss again. Man, but are we going to have the faith to say, I know how these stories end? Like, I know the power of my God can raise the dead. I know that the Spirit that rose Jesus from the dead lives and dwells in me. Can I trust Jesus with my tomb? And I want to acknowledge, I know there's a lot of people in here and in this room who have buried people in their life, who have made big prayers to God in faith and in hope, and they were not answered the way that you want them to. This story of Lazarus is not a story that says, hey, if we just have enough faith, Jesus will resurrect whatever it is that we love the most or whatever it is that we want. The purpose of this story is for Jesus to be able to say, hey, I'm going to display my power so that people can experience the glory of God in a profound way that they can't anywhere else. So in our seasons of waiting, we don't go into it saying, I know Jesus is going to do exactly what I want him to do. But in my season of waiting, do I still have hope that the power of God can resurrect something and bring life, even though I've already considered it dead? When you're grounded, when God intentionally places you in a season of waiting, can we have faith and can we have hope that our God is greater than death? There's a priest I really like to read. His name is Henry Nouwen. He writes a lot about the spiritual life, and he says this, He says, waiting time is not wasting time. Waiting time is not wasting time. Waiting patiently in expectation is the foundation of the spiritual life. When God has intentionally put us in a season of waiting where he has grounded us, can I have hope that this is the moment that will be foundational to my spiritual life? And as you're here, and especially if you're waiting for something and it's starting to feel hopeless or you've been waiting for a while, I have a couple of encouragements or challenges I want to give you. And the first is this: I would really invite you and challenge you to reframe how you view your waiting. Like, our world, again, is constantly telling us waiting is wrong. Waiting is bad. Waiting should not be a part of the human experience. And so we obviously put that onto our relationship with God. I should not be having to wait on an all-good, all-powerful God. He can do everything right now. Why isn't he? It's because our time of waiting needs to be reframed as something that is spiritually forming in our lives, not as an inconvenience or as a disappointment. Mackenzie and I, we take our dog a lot to the Rotary Dog Park. I know I've seen some people there. It's an off-leash park. And we go there, and we're such creatures of habit that when we go, we just walk the same loop, and we do the same thing every single time. Until 2 weeks ago. Like, we showed up, and we looked at each other, and we're like, maybe we should be spicy. I know. Our life is super exciting right now. We're like, ooh, we have a baby now? Like, let's just mix it up. Let's walk the opposite direction. Same path. We're just going to walk in a different side of it. And we walked, and I promise you guys, I wish I could be lying this. We had this moment where we looked at each other, and we're like, it's a new forest. We've never been here before. This is insane. We were just like, oh my gosh, look at the trees. And we're like, it's the same path. It's the exact same thing we've seen dozens of times. But we reframed it. And it felt entirely new and different. It might take time for us to reframe how we view waiting. But if we do, what if it ended up being something wildly different than what we thought it was? Second thing I invite you to do is to practice stillness. Is to take a moment, like take 5 minutes outside in silence if you can. I can't, so I get it. But if you can, do that for me. I know I miss it. Take a few minutes to focus on your breathing before you go to work. As you're driving to and from school, don't turn the music on right away. Be still and in the moment that you're in. When we practice stillness, both with our body and our soul, it does something pretty profound. Because here's the temptation that we all have. I am waiting on God in my soul. I'm praying about it. I'm asking God to do something. I'm here waiting for him. But in my body, I'm like, yeah, but if I just work a little bit more, if I just do X, Y, and Z, I can probably solve this problem without Jesus. I can probably do it a little bit faster than him. I can try a little bit harder. Man, I might not even need God at all in a couple of days if I just keep my body moving and work at solving this problem. When we practice stillness and we force our bodies not to move and to do something, and we force our spirits to not move and to do something, it focuses us on a dependency on Jesus that our bodies and souls need. And the more that we are connected to Jesus in our waiting, the much more likely we are to find hope in it rather than discouragement. Last thing I'd invite you to do is I'd invite you to tell someone. If you read this passage again, there's this moment where it says when Jesus arrived that Mary and Martha had already buried Lazarus for 4 days, but many of the Jews from their surrounding area had come to them to comfort them. Like, these are people who understood pain and death. They understood what it meant to wait on Jesus. They were hurting, and they were waiting together with Mary and Martha for Jesus to come. And for us to be able to go to somebody and say, hey, this is what I'm waiting on God for, is going to require us to try to basically tell somebody, hey, guess what? I don't have it all together. This part of my life, it's kind of in shambles. I need God to bring healing. I need God to bring a foundation. I need God to bring peace in this. But we want to present like, hey, everything's great. Everything's awesome. I'm doing good. Don't need anything. All of us need something. All of us are waiting on God to do something. And so when we just create a little bit of vulnerability and say, hey, this is what I'm waiting on God for, and somebody else comes along and says, man, I am waiting on God to do the exact same thing. Man, let's just wait and pray together. It is so much easier to remain hopeful that God is going to do something when you are waiting with people around you. So as much as you can, tell somebody. Because again, we live in this world where it is constantly telling us the things that you do with your time and what you produce in your time is the most important thing. Don't waste it. Don't be idle. Don't be lazy. Don't wait for anything. Move on from one thing to the next so that you can accomplish everything that you need to do. But this story reminds us that our God's timing is perfect, that it's going to require us to wait on him. But man, his power is beyond anything that we could fathom. And his love is greater than anything that we deserve. And in Jesus, there is always hope for resurrection, even when something looks dead. And so as we end our time together, I want to ask you 3 questions. And these questions are going to sound familiar. And I will say they are different than what is written on the pamphlets, on the handouts. That's my fault. That's not anybody else's fault. But I want to ask you these 3 questions. What are you waiting on God for? Have you moved on from waiting on God? And third, do you need to reopen your tomb?